Ntando.
Yes. What? Am I animated?
The way you jump like a little schoolboy.
Actually, I'm trying to. But I'm reading something about myself now because now I'm focused about the future. I forgot everything that I did in the past. Everything.
How can you know where you're going if you don't know your past?
No, because it's settled. It's done. I've dealt with it. It's paid for. I'm okay with my past.
You don't look in the rearview mirror.
No, darling. We check. You don't just like focus there. You just check. You're like, okay, I did that, and you move forward.
So I was hoping that you're gonna take me through your archives.
No, that's specifically for another day in history, not now. We're still building that archive.
Fabulous. Ntando, we are heading to your 5th showcase at SA Fashion Week.
It's the 4th.
Is it the 4th?
It's the 4th one, yeah.
Okay. Well, technically 5th. We won't mention the other one.
Yeah. But so this is
actually, why not? The first time you showcased at Fashion Week was you were doing the competition.
We were doing a competition. It was a GQ mini menswear scouting competition.
Yeah.
That's where we debuted Project 0.5. That was a spring summer collection. And the very same year, we did an autumn winter range, which was Project 0.6. That was the Broken Bespoke presentation.
Broken
Bespoke presentation, yeah. So
how come I never heard of that one? What was happening with Broken Bespoke?
So Broken Bespoke, it was an idea, well basically it was a conceptual idea of how we can make bespoke a little bit more different, the approach to bespoke was a little bit different in terms of technicalities and how it was made and how it was presented also, because it was presented as a very, very retail ready collection, but as you started breaking down the collection, it becomes more conceptual because you had like detachable jackets, mixed fitted pants, you had oversized collars that were detachable also, so it was a very, very interesting but I mean, like you said, you didn't know about it, maybe it didn't pop out at the media like it was supposed to.
I remember the collection, I just didn't know the theme.
Or the theme behind it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it was mainly, it's mainly because I wanted to like narrow down the basics of how bespoke is being perceived.
Yeah.
In the fashion industry or in general, because I mean bespoke, we know it to be sartorial. Yes, we played around with sartorial cuts and stuff.
Yeah.
But like when it came to styling and technicalities and stuff like that, we wanted to really enhance it and take it to another level. So we did that with Project 0.6.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. The first one was called?
Project 0.5, Project 0.6, which is Broken Bespoke.
So it's always Project something with a subtitle underneath.
Okay. Yes. And then we did this year,
before then. You skipped 7.
Project 0.7, it was last year. No, it was this year, April. We showcased it this year, April.
Yeah.
Yes, so that's the spring summer collection we did this year.
What was the subject title for that?
The subject title was the Next Generation presentation.
What was that about?
The Next Generation presentation was basically me bringing out some of the aesthetics that I was practicing all along and taking them to another height, another level also, making it more retail ready and making it more appealing to the market, because I mean I've always been a very conceptual designer and people didn't really understand what I was about until Project 0.7. Then a couple of influential people in the business, they really picked out certain styles from there and then they decided to buy them, and then at the moment they're in stores, and I think that's a very interesting way for us to present a collection, to make it more ready to wear. Yes, it's still a conceptual idea once it's presented, but once it gets into sale, it's a different spectrum. It's a different product altogether.
Yeah, and also just to make a note that if somebody's listening to you and hearing all this concept wear, I mean, a brand like Off-White, it's literally concept wear, you know. Because you're buying into an idea, but more of actually your aesthetic or kind of design, it's more artisanal.
Of course, yeah.
It's more artisanal and it's more actually tailoring. It's like
Of course.
Tailoring. You're not selling like a logo or a concept of a t-shirt.
No, I'm not selling myself. I'm not selling this, darling. No, we're not selling this guy. We are selling what this guy can do. And I think in some respects, I think I'm selling the technicalities behind how to make clothes. Because I mean, we can make a very basic t-shirt, but when we use Egyptian cotton and put a zip at the back, it's a different piece of garment altogether. If we take pair of jeans and we never use an overlocker inside and we use binding, it's a totally different idea altogether. Or if we use the detachable jacket and we flip it inside out, it's a total different idea altogether. And that's what we want to do, and that's what we have always done. And then that's what I think XV stands for. I mean, we are about creating what should be the norm, but in a different light. So you'd find that, okay, cool, some of these styles are quite popular. You know, you t-shirts, jeans, basic shirts, jackets or whatever. But depending on how they're made or how they're tailored, then it changes into a different idea of clothing altogether. It's like a different perspective on how clothes should be made or how clothes should be worn or presented or taken care of, or I don't know. It's a different perspective when it comes to clothing altogether. Artisanal clothing, I think.
Yeah, which you do very well. And then we are now this season, autumn winter 2020. We are on Project 8.
Project 0.8, yes.
Subtitle?
The subtitle to Project 0.8, it's Apartment 8. And Apartment 8, basically, I wanted to bring everyone together. Well, the idea behind Project 0.8 is how everyone has been segregated. You know, everyone has been through certain traumas in their lives, and everyone is trying to find a way or find a home or find a place where they belong. In most cases, now that some of us have been living in the city for quite some time, we've noticed how people are generally living under one roof. And in having said that, people create their own ways in which they can represent or express themselves in different ways based on how they've went through certain experiences in their lives. So having said that, they end up creating their own little identity. If you look at it in certain respects, you can meet guys in one apartment, one from Nigeria, one from Tanzania, one from Botswana, and one from, I don't know, Zimbabwe, even South Africa. But once you start checking how these guys are living, they have somehow formulated a way of living altogether. And these guys are, in a way, from different parts of the world or different parts of our world, which is segregated in us believing that we're living in an alienated country. But I mean, having them living with us in a way, I think it brings in a new culture, a new different perspective to the rest of the world, that yes, it's possible that we can all live together under one roof and we can create our own identity. I think that's what Project 0.8 is about.
Yeah, and then when you were compiling Project 0.8 titled Apartment Presentation, what was on your mood board? What is on your mood board? What informed the creative process?
Initially, the creative process behind 0.8, I didn't really want to create something new that I didn't understand at this current moment. There's always something new whenever it's being released or whatever, but when it comes to my technicalities, when it comes to certain patterns, or when it comes to design in totality, I didn't want to shift from what we were about. So having to call it Project 0.8, it's basically picking up from where we've left off, but representing it in a new, different perspective, and also bringing all these ideas together and having what was happening in South Africa a while ago, the xenophobic attacks and all those vibes. I mean, it really brought out a different perspective that, I mean, why are we fighting amongst each other even now? You know what I mean? We're practically living off each other. If you look at it properly, we're practically living off each other. The thing is now, there are certain people, I think, in certain respects or certain political powers or influences that have ways in which they can control the masses into believing that they're entitled to something that they didn't work for. And I think that's not fair. So having Project 0.8 reflect that type of a story. We're trying to mix everything from sportswear to bespoke to streetwear to sartorial elegance to everything, and we just bring it all together into one room and creating its own little trail, its own little signature for this season. I think that's what triggered the whole idea, and I wanted it to initially be, well, I wanted to use the apartheid flag, but it was declared illegal before I could, sign it down. But I mean, Apartment 8, I found it was very close to the idea that yes, we are segregated, but at the end of the day, we are still living under one roof.
Yeah. And then how were you going to use the old South African flag?
The old apartheid flag?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to use it in colors and printing it, or just writing something about it, or little mini details on garments, stuff like that, just so that they can remind people of how we are being channeled in believing that there's something wrong with us, where else there was never something wrong with us from the get-go. The thing is that now we were influenced by foreign ideas, and then we just put them all together into one basket, and we created what we think is tradition, culture, or religion in most respects. Because I mean, I don't think most of us are still connected to what we think are our roots in terms of identity, sexuality, spirituality, when it comes to all those levels of self-belief or self-understanding or self-identity as oneself. I think finding your true north is a different story altogether if you don't understand your roots, and that thing Project 0.8 reflects on that. Yeah.
Would you say that in this collection it has a very strong sense of you becoming and you finding your voice?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, being in the business for more than 5, 6, 7, being in the business for more
being more than a month.
Yeah, for being in the business for a couple of months, you learn to have your own identity, and people pick up on your aesthetic, and it's quite interesting when you can inspire a couple of designers and you can show them the possibilities that they were there, but they were really afraid to explore in terms of technicalities. I think XV has that little element of aestheticity that is there now, that's currently growing somehow with these young ones or these old ones, but there's this little thing that's triggering possibilities in fashion, and I think that's what we're about. 5 years ago today now, if you were to ask me, do you think you have a voice, I would have said maybe, because I was still trying to understand the identity that I wanted to portray to the masses, to the fashion industry, to my clients, to everyone else. But now that I've worked so hard and we did all these other things that could have broken the name or built the name in other respects, but now that I think we have mastered our aesthetics, I think it's easier now to always portray them in different lights, in different tones, in different fabrications, in different lights. So only now I think I understand what XV is about. Only now I think I get the glimpse of what it's about, because it stands for it's a multicultural, multiracial, multisexual. It's a very fluid brand. You can't categorize it in any respect. I don't think so. You can't say this is menswear, this is ladies wear, this is unisex, so it's basically artisanal clothing.
Yeah, but would you say what is its USP? What is your unique selling point? What is that one thing that you're looking at your work that somebody can say this is Ntando XV?
Aesthetics, my aesthetic, my technicalities, how the clothes are made and what.
How are they made?
Okay, do you want to go there?
Yeah, that's why we're having this conversation.
We have 4 ways of making clothes. First, there's ways of constructing, there are ways of manipulating, and there are ways of draping, and there are ways of cutting. So it's the same thing, but when it comes to XV, it's a different process altogether, because what we do is then we start sampling, we sketch, and then we produce. Some of the clothing, some of them they're designed from a fabric perspective, some of them are designed from a conceptual perspective, some of them are designed according to a pattern perspective, based on maybe the inspiration at the time or how the pattern was created back then and how it can be evolved now. You know what I mean? I think that's what we are about. I think creating history in a way in which clothes are not made in a basic way or in a traditional way. I think we're breaking down rules or norms on how clothes should be made. We bind half of our clothes. We don't overlock some of our clothes. We use French seam on some of our clothes, which is a bit of an interesting technicality now that I found out that some institutions don't really train people to do that anymore. We use lining, insulated lining, because I heard that some people are using these other linings that we don't understand. Well, if you understand quality, you can't be using pongee lining in 2019 going into 2020. You can't be doing.
We love clothes that breathe.
Of course,
and
like
that
synthetics
move.
don't need attention, which is why most of my collection, if you look at most of the fabrications, it would be 75% cotton based, and then you'd have 35-25% synthetics, because they don't really need much attention. We just add in them in the collection so that they can show fluid, like how the collection is fluid, or how transitional, how easy it can be to wear an XV piece, because we're looking at the price points and we're trying to break down those. And obviously using something like synthetic, it really brings it down, just not a little down, but it brings it to a more affordable, market price range, which is the question of saying what is our selling point. I think understanding the market and understanding our technicalities and how we've always built this trail or this line of aestheticity, and finding a way in which we can create now styles that are not beyond our expectations in terms of pricing, in terms of technicalities, and so on and so forth, meaning we shouldn't cut ourselves short in terms of like design or having to sell an idea to someone.
Well, how I would notice an Ntando XV garment is by the binding details that you use, and it seems like you have an attraction to denim. There's always a denim element to that.
Denim is
I would say that's your core.
That's the core fabric of 15. Yeah, we love denim because it's an easy fabric to work with, and it respects most of my patterns, and it works in different ways. And I can do anything with denim. You can make a dress, you can make a pair of jeans, you can make shirts, you can do anything with denim. And I think that's one thing that has always sold XV. Most of my clients, they buy denims, so they want the denim. They would prefer us to mostly focus on premium denims than we would with these other designer wear, like the stuff that we're trying with the sportswear, with the sartorial stuff, brocade fabrics. They don't really like that much. They just want the core pieces, like your denim wear that's binded, something that speaks to them and our aesthetic. There's something that's representable to them and to us as well. I think that's what we always go for.
Yeah, and then this season, obviously there'll be some of your core fabrication that you've been using since from the beginning, your denim, your cotton. There's the element of brocade that has been introduced, and obviously there's going to be mixed fibers with a bit of synthetics. And then this season you have introduced a new print that you designed yourself for the collection.
Yeah.
Can you please take me through it?
So this is our second print, because we had one print. So what we do with one print is that it's a multiverse print. We can do it in different colorations, but as long as it's just one basic print, we can do it in different colorations. The one that you saw on Project 0.5, the summer spring collection that we did for the mini menswear scouting competition, that was a project I did a while back. We just brought it back then so that it can be more appealing to the market at that time. Now, with Project 0.8, we did a print that I think it's an aesthetic that was based on what I think is happening right now in terms of culture, location, traditions, and so on and so forth. So I did a research on, well, basically it's not a research. I saw a documentary about light, sound, and resonance from Michael Tillinger. I'm not sure if you know the guy. He's a scientist. He's from, I think, the out regions of Uppington before Botswana borders, and he's been seeing these terraces, like your old cow terraces, where people believe that these were old cattle kraals or whatever. And he did a research on them, and he actually found out that they were not only like terraces, not only for human or animals or whatever, but they were actually used for mining and these other discoveries that were there, and how these things how they were placed in certain geographic proportions, they were perfectly calculated. And looking at the technology then, it wasn't well, it wasn't possible for men to be able to do that with the limited resource that they had at the time. Now, looking at the idea of having those terraces being at where we are right now, which is South Africa, and looking at all these other things that are happening in comic events, cosmic events also, politics, traditions, religion, and everything. I just tried to bring all those things, elements all together, and seeing how we can portray sound and light into fabrication. So for us, it was like portraying a message through a print that could speak in different dimensions, depending on how you look at it. Because the colors that we used, the neons, the teals and the blues and the navies and everything, it's just all in one place. But how you look at it, it's interesting because it gives you a 4-dimension type of a reflection. If you look at it from a very close perspective, from very far, you'd see it has a really 4D effect onto it. Meaning it gives you like a landscape type of an effect onto the garment, and that's what we wanted to play around with, especially with this print right now.
Yeah. So that must be very technical, very expensive.
It takes time. It's not expensive. It takes time. It takes time because
time is money.
You have to so when you do a research on something, you see how you must know how sound reacts, or how light reacts, or how color reacts, or how fabrics react, or certain things. So when you start compiling all that information and you get to a certain peak or a certain level, then you start testing. And the level of testing, well, yeah, we're still testing. Even with this current print, we are still testing some of the stuff that we're bringing out there. But with this one, I'm quite a bit confident with it, because I think it's a very interesting print, and I think it hosts most of our aesthetics, because we're all about lines, geographics, aesthetics like proportions, the way we cut certain things, the way we put finishings on garments and stuff like that. It complements the print, it complements the style, it complements the aesthetic. And I think with this one, I think we might have something in the bucket for next year somewhere in the world.
So,
I think.
So it is a print that you're going to keep on developing and introducing in your collections?
Of course. Look, when we look at certain things like aesthetics or an idea, look at how then developed print went from being an household practice to being a global impacting print, you know what I mean? Having people like Osara who can recreate that print into something interesting every year. I want to be that guy who creates that particular print that will be that can be represented, reinterpreted in different ways, and represented in different ways, in different cultures, in different times. Like, that's what we're about. We're about creating something that's timeless. So when it comes to fashion or thinking about what's happening right now, I don't really focus on that. I focus on how is it going to impact the next person in a couple of years, in a couple of months, or in the next century or whatever. That's what I mostly think about.
Yeah. How many looks will you be showcasing?
We are doing 15 looks this season.
And that's 15 layered looks.
15 layered looks, yeah. 15 layered looks. So what we did with this one, like I said, Project 0.8, we're basically trying to compile how Africans, like I said, are living under one roof. So you'd find that there are certain clothing that are made in certain parts of Africa or certain parts of the world that are not reinterpreted in a different way or updated to what's happening right now. Like the draping shirts from Lagos, they're not that updated to today's era. The Ndebele skirt is not updated to this era. The Amapishu from the Zulu tribes, they're not updated up until this era. So even the Botswana's, the Botswana's halter, whatnot, whatever, they're not updated to today's market or today's fashion. And what XV is about creating that idea of having a culture that can be represented in different ways, in different times, but still have that little timelessness into them. That's what we're about. And introducing them to 0.8, we basically took different styles and we styled them according to, first and foremost, body shape and height, sizing, and all those, and well, so on and so forth. But in most cases, we're trying to break down all those norms that a man should look this type of way, a man should dress this type of way, or a woman should look this type of way. That's what we are trying to do in most cases.
And then when you create a collection, or when you create an idea that you translate into clothing, do you ever think or worry that somebody who comes to your show, or a potential customer, is not going to get it?
No.
No.
No. No, I don't. I don't, in a way in which like I said, having been in the business for more than 4 or 5 years, it matters, and it doesn't really matter what someone thinks. It matters on how it was made, it matters on who's going to buy it. So until it's bought, then I'm worried. But if it's not bought, then I'm like freaking out, like totally. If someone doesn't buy it from the runway, I have a huge problem with that. If someone doesn't buy it in a couple of weeks, so if I don't get an email or an SMS or a text saying, dude, we want something like this, then I get worried. But before showcasing and so on and so forth, I worry about how is it going to be presented? How is it going to be finished? How is it going to look? Is it going to have an impact? Is South African fashion going to pay attention to what we are doing? Is sex now going to question the possibilities that are there within the realm of sexuality in terms of department stores? Are people going to now say, okay, this is menswear, this is ladies' wear, or this is unisex, or this is, you know what I mean? Or are we now going to introduce a new genre altogether when it comes to clothing, to say, okay, fine, this is artisanal clothing, it doesn't have a sex, but these are clothing for anyone, and that's what we want to do. But having to look at how we design, how we think of our clothing, we only focus on the technicalities of them. We don't really focus that much on who will say what about what, because that's not who we are selling to. We are selling something to someone who appreciates clothes that are made in a certain way, specifically for them in a way. Because I mean, we go for those characters that are brave, that are, you know, they don't conform to any sex, race, or whatever. So we go for those people who are basically the, what do you call, outcasts of the social or the public face, but they still belong in the realm of society.
Yeah.
That's who we sell to. So I don't think
it's very niche for the outliers.
Yeah, I don't really think someone's opinion on how we make stuff really matters now. It will matter maybe if it wasn't bought in a couple of weeks. Yeah, then I will get worried.
Yeah. One of your mentors was David Klale. So what would you say, what is that one thing that you took away from him as a fashion business person that you're implementing in your own business?
To be your own man. I think to be your own man, to have your own set of balls. If that's one thing I've learned from him, is to be your own man. To always apologize when you have to always respect anyone, irrespective of age, race, sex, whatever. To always do diligence. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're going to school or not. If a client wants something they really want, it doesn't really matter how popular or how strong you think you are. And well, basically I think learning something from David was basically being hard-headed and being strong and believing in your own work and becoming your own man. I think that's one thing I've learned from him.
Yeah, and then the other interesting thing about you as a designer is that you didn't go to fashion design school, did you?
No.
Like everything, it's self-taught, and you work with your mother. Your mom helped you through
some parts of my upbringing. Yes,
yes.
She played a really important role. Yes,
and you're one of the greatest when it comes to
really.
Yeah, take it.
Thank you.
You're very good when it comes to manipulation of fabric, pattern making, artisanal, conceptualizing an idea from sketch and you putting it onto fabric. It's very refreshing. It's really incredible. What would you say is the thing that made Ntando XV what it is today that school would have never taught you?
I mean, having said that, I think so. With me, I don't think with me I would have been limited to doing anything that I've always wanted, because I've always done what I always wanted to do. But I think if I were to be institutionalized, maybe I could have learned certain things that I would have not went through right now.
Like what?
I don't know, man. Business or fashion? You know, the business of fashion. I think maybe the institution might have taught me certain things that I would have used in terms of business today. But when it comes to me realizing the talents or how to host the talent, I don't think they would have taught me that much in that respect. But when it comes to the business of doing everything, the finances, the management of people, having that archive from the institutions, I think it would have helped a lot. Because I mean, so the work that I've accumulated, or the stuff that I've done so far, it wasn't filtered through. It had to be learned. It had to be experienced day in, day out, an hour or a minute or a second, every day. It had to be learned. So having something that would filter all that in, I think it would have made life easier. But I don't think XV would have been something right now, because it would be an arrogant brand that was based on someone else's recycled thought process. It wouldn't have an identity like it does right now.
Yeah, and I've spoken to a few people who went to fashion graduate school, and trust me, they don't. Apparently, the curriculum doesn't really teach them a lot when it comes to business and running. Maybe doing an experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, there's nothing more interesting that they feel, because everything is theoretical. I mean, you can learn something, you can read about something, but when it comes to your expectations about life doesn't treat you that way.
Yeah.
If I want to make sense about, like, okay, fine, let's say I was institutionalized to understand to control my powers, or to understand to control my talents. I would be afraid to express them in a certain way, in a certain medium. But if I'm free enough to understand that I have these talents, that I have these skills, then I'm free to can express them in any respect that I want. So when it comes to now, the business of everything is understanding that level of power, of understanding talent, skills, whatever, and having been mentored by certain powerful influences in the business that understand what was happening in the fashion industry, what is actually happening on the ground. It gives you more enlightenment, I think, when it comes to understanding what it is that people are thinking is, what people think it's basically a subject that they need to learn in order for them to understand their talents further, if I'm making sense, like that curriculum. A curriculum, I think, it's something that you need to practice. It needs to be embedded in you. You just have to make it better, if I'm making sense.
Yeah, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. Nothing school will teach you. Whatever.
Yeah, so I think in that regard. So I think in also our government, I mean, when it comes to, I think media, government, the world in totality, it has blinded us into believing that we can do whatever that we want. Mm-hmm. And that's a very interesting, that's a very dangerous thought process, because you end up not understanding your talents, because you want, instead of paying attention to what you have. You know what I mean? And in wanting, you end up wanting things that don't really match up to your expectations or your talents or to your skills or whatever, which is why we find that most graduates or most people who are institutionalized, they don't have brands like some of us do, like self-taught designers, so people who dropped out of college to go into pursue business, you know, or people who went into politics and just like focused on something else in totality. So having to pick talent from ground root level, I think from primary level or even preschool level, if you can see that this kid can sketch, if this kid is good with numbers, or if this kid can read, put them in a system in which they can be, you know, properly allocated in the system so that they can thrive in whatever specifications or genres that they choose for themselves, depending on what they want. Because if media is going to say, I want to be a rapper, now everyone wants to be a rapper because it's easy money, you just spit and then you make money, that's it. They forget about the talent. You need to be a priest You need to be a Shema. You need to be someone in a stronger thought process for you to be in that realm of speaking something to the masses that would make sense in a couple of years. So which is why music even today, it doesn't really challenge people to think that much. It makes people want to do something instead of realizing what they have, perfecting that, and making something. If I'm making sense, like instead of doing something, so when you do something, you just like you are doing, but when you're making something, it's so when you do, for me doing it's a different word as compared to making something, because I believe in physical things. I believe in making things physically instead of, as opposed to just talking about them. So I think when it comes to also like building Project 0.8 or building XV to what it is today, I think it's all those experiences, life experiences, challenges, institutions and all that, and it has filtered me into understanding that I don't have to go through school, work and then family. I have to start from family and then I'll go to school, then business, or I'll go through business, school. Like for me the channels are different.
There's no formula.
There is no particular formula. It's been complicated for more than 8-9 years now, but I think that's how God works, I think.
Ntando, what do you know now that you didn't know then that you wish somebody told you when you started off?
That everything has a purpose. Everything has its place on earth. That everything is meant to be there for a reason. Like everything happens for a reason. I think if I paid more attention to that, I would have become a better person, maybe. I don't know.
Any specifics? An event, an experience that you can single out?
I could have died twice. Car accidents, illness, whatever. But God has had a plan for me, and through me going through those challenges, it has taught me to always value life, appreciate the little small things, which is why people think I live a very lavish life. I don't. I still enjoy walking around town without anyone noticing me.
Same.
I still enjoy, I don't know, man, like going home and just like being there, not doing anything, as opposed to like going out partying. Because I mean, our world, our business is based on like, the superficial part of everything. But like, if there was something that I would have learned back then that I should have known now, is to always be myself. Because I've always tried to please people in certain ways also.
How?
I don't know, people expect you to be perfect. People expect you to be generous. People expect you to be humble in certain ways. Or else they don't know how you woke up today. They don't know how you woke up yesterday. They don't know what you went through a couple of minutes ago. And yet you still have to smile. You have to be that person, For me, it's a bit of a challenge because I'm an introvert. Like if I know you and you're like 2 steps away and I'm in public and I'm supposed to like say hello, and if I don't get that reaction, it's a chance. I'll take it. I'll walk past because I'm that shy. I won't walk up to you and be like, hi, how are you? You know what I mean? Back then I used to be that guy, which is a bit interesting because it created a lot of circles that I got involved in that delayed the process of me growing as a person because I was trying to please everyone.
Yeah. Cultural radar. What do you think is moving the needle right now?
In terms of?
Everything that is culture related. Is it life? Is it music? Is it fashion? Is it people? Just what are things that you're just generally noticing now as we go into 2020 that are really moving the needle? Is water separating from the oil? Are there new voices coming up?
I think now we are moving in an era. Well, these are the end of times. People are saying that these are the end of times, and I say that these are the end of times.
That's what they said.
That's what everyone is saying.
2000.
Everyone is saying that, yeah. But these are the end of times, and having said that, we are finding new ways of, I think, finding our own identity, finding the truth, understanding that we were blinded for so long. certain things were hidden away from us so that we couldn't understand who we were. You know what I mean? I think self-expression has now taken a new turn. Health has become the new wealth. Sex has become the new identity or a new form of existence. Music has become a new form of religion. You know, time has become some sort of currency also. So in a way, moving forward from now on, I think all these things that were put in there systematically so that we can't succeed are now breaking down. Systems are breaking down so that a new era can arise, I think. And I think that's where maybe we are headed. We are breaking all these norms or all these, I don't know, things that people think are normal, things that people think that they should conform to in order for them to succeed. The ideas of having to coexist in a community of multiracial people, now it's a different concept altogether. You are black, you're rich. Now everyone on your street who's supposedly white in that suburb wants to be like you. It's a different genre altogether. You know what I mean? Not that black guy who used to be in the township is looking at someone in the suburbs driving a Cressida back then. No one wants to be that guy. Now everyone wants to be a boxer. People want to buy sports cars. Someone wants to be an investment banker, or someone wants to trade. And so people are also finding different ways where they can put or invest their monies, or how to grow their money, or how to use their money. Because I mean, let's be real. The system of saying go to work, get a job, have a family, it has failed. I think even also the generation before us, it was like destroyed by that. And having to understand that you can't leave your education, you can't leave your job for your children. It's a trap, you understand? So having a business, now that people are tapping into this mentality of owning something, clinging on to something, ownership, I think people now, by leveraging on ownership, they'll be able to leave something for the next generations to come. And I think that's a new trail that I think it's moving around now. People are not looking for jobs, they want to create jobs. I think that's what is next. I think that's the future.
Anything else you would like to share? Wise one?
Oh, I have nothing wise to say. I have nothing wise to say other than just like being yourself and being content with who you are, and understanding that we all have our positions in life, and we don't always have to succumb to public's opinion about ourselves in order for us to, I don't know, in order for us to become what the public thinks that we are.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't conform to anything.
Yeah.
I think we should create. I think we should make instead of doing.
Yeah.
I think we should make instead of saying. I think speak less, do more. Speak less, make more. I think that's what we should do.
Yeah. And also, guys, it's fine not to know who you are and what your purpose is. That's also just fine. I mean, it will come to you. Do you know, like some people struggle with this fact that, oh, I don't know who I am, I don't know what my purpose is, you know, then you just get this anxiety attack. Sometimes it's like, it's fine, you don't know, because you just live.
We were taught not to love ourselves from a very early age. So once you start loving yourself, I think it gets easier to accept, detach, attach, attract, repel certain things in and out of your life. I think it's easier that way, because once you start loving yourself, it's easier.
Repel and attract things.
Yes. I mean, once you start loving yourself, I mean, you know what works and what doesn't work for you. You know what you want.
RuPaul.
I'm not RuPaul, because I mean, we were
not making a reference to RuPaul thing.
Yeah, but
what does he say? If you're not gonna love yourself and you expect somebody else to love you.
Yeah, but having something like that, it really teaches. I think it teaches us identity, man. It teaches us how to become ourselves instead of expecting to become something. People are focused on becoming something for someone, or having to expect saving from someone. I mean, that doesn't work. How long have we been waiting for maybe like Jesus? How long have we been waiting for Jesus? How long have we been waiting for government? How long have we been waiting for, I don't know, Depends on what you believe in, but how long have you been waiting for that little thing to happen instead of you standing up and doing it for yourself? Because maybe you might love yourself to a point where now you want to create certain things for your life in a certain system that you think works for the next generations to come, or the next centuries to come, or the next civilizations to, you know what I mean? No one really invents anything anymore, because I think everyone is so consumed with this whole idea of access, because that's easy for everyone. That's easy for everyone to get access. It's very easy. So originality also is one thing that doesn't exist anymore, because everything is filtered and it's a recycled thought process.
Yeah, always the original is the best execution of something that was already there. But in any case, that's it from project 0.8.
But you can say that's the original. So, okay.
What? Why can't you say that?
Originality, okay.
But what is I would like, it's nothing is original.
Of course, nothing.
Like it can only be original, like the best. Because you're representing like an idea or something that was already there in a new, exciting way. Then from that landscape, there's an element of like, okay, it's fresh and it's original.
I'm getting offended. It's fresh and wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't,
why are you getting offended?
Because I don't think I'm that guy in that respect.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about originality. Yes, some people say yes, you are original. La, 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 la.
No, but we're not talking about original Ntando, original, or your work original.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about original in a. Oh, you say you're getting offended because you've been called original?
Not necessarily. Yeah, but yeah. It's one of those things, because I'm thinking to myself, I haven't really...
Yeah, like you're original because you're telling me about your new pattern, like you're introducing me to some new techniques that you showcase in your next collection.
These are ways in which we can do different things to different clothes, using things that were not supposed to be done to certain clothes.
Yeah.
You can't make a t-shirt with Egyptian cotton. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. You can't bind your whole denim. It doesn't make sense.
Tell me something. What is African luxury?
African luxury, my dear.
Luxury.
So, I don't know what African luxury is, but my idea of luxury, it's something that was taken from most of us. Well, something that was not exposed to us. And it was exposed to us at a later stage, at a higher price. I think that's what luxury is.
Do you think it has more to do with price point?
No, I think it goes with the processes of it being produced at that time.
That it pushes the price higher.
It pushes the prices higher. If it wasn't exposed... I
mean, we know some of the composite of luxury, heritage, resources, craftsmanship, time.
Those are basics. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, but like sometimes you get somebody who's like watching whatever, they're just like, oh, right, you know?
Well, I mean, so for me, fashion always changes. Like it changes every time. You can have an opinion now. 2 years later, your opinion can change. You're human, you're entitled to change your opinion. But as a creative or as a creator, someone like me, if I'm creating something now, I don't want it to be out in a couple of years, which is why it's important for me to create something that's timeless now, as opposed to just creating something for fashion that's going to be like disintegrated in a couple of years. I don't like that. I can't do that. So when it comes to the part of me being original, I think offense, yeah, but I think classic. I think I'm classic.
Timeless.
Timeless. Yes.
Omnipresent. Full stop. Period. The
Done.
end.
That was nice.